registration from 14th.
IBC turns down requests to extend voter registration, so you've only got Monday and Tuesday left.
But I would like to see the government really take this a lot more seriously.
Ranchers start burning grass to keep off pastoralists' invasion as crisis deepens.
The game of numbers is intensifying. Now, NAS and Jubilee are pleading with supporters to register as voters.
Hiyo amri ya koti haikuwa inahusika, is null and void.
The executive's fumbling directives and a Trump moment for Kenya.
NTV Weekend Edition with Victoria Rubadiri and Larry Madowo.
Good evening. Our sign language interpreter tonight is David Agundwa.
The crisis unfolding in Laikipia County has hit another level, with residents protesting what they term as police harassment. Tonight, many families are sleeping in the cold after their homes were reportedly torched by the police.
As the struggle for pasture persists, herders and ranchers are at loggerheads once again, with some ranchers in the area now setting their properties on fire to avoid it being destroyed by pastoralists.
From afar, the fire rages across the lands. A huge smoke of fire forms around this area. A few meters away, wild animals walk freely at the entrance of the Kifuku Cattle Ranch in Laikipia. Ranch owner Maria Dodds tells us that this is a routine function that she normally does on her ranch, although this time round she's clearing the area for other reasons. Ranch owners here have embarked on burning down grass in areas surrounding them to keep off pastoralists. They term it as a safety measure due to insecurity emanating from the invasions.
But I would like to see the government really take this a lot more seriously. I think they didn't realize how big an issue it was at the beginning. And the issue is still only escalating.
For weeks now, ranchers and herders have been at each other's throats as pastoralists are said to be trespassing into private ranches to find pasture, leaving destruction and death in their wake. Many of those ranches are said to be losing wild animals at the hands of herders. On the other side of this vast county, smoke billows from houses which seem to have been torched not so long ago. From the look of things, the destruction was immense, and those responsible ensured that nothing could be salvaged here.
Kuna kitu mnajua kwa sababu mnaona tu moto unaingia kwa manyumba. Kila kitu kimeshomeka. Wasia jana uniform watoto bado nafaa uniform mpaka saa hii. So sinakaa tu kwa chini ya miti, hakuna kitu nakula mpaka saa hii.
Residents claim that the masters of their terror are the police who are executing a government directive to evict them from their homes.
Armored vehicle inapelekwa kupigana na wakaidi kama Al-Shabaab. Waaskari yetu wanaoa Somalia 57, badala wapeleke armored vehicle inaletwa kuua wananchi kwa expense ya mtu moja.
The residents are now blaming the Jubilee administration for use of excessive force, police brutality and burning down of homes owned by locals who are said to have lived for decades in the area. A number of children and women are now forced to spend their nights in the cold after their houses were torched by a team of police officers in the Friday morning incident as a way of evicting them. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
At the height of the dry season, heavily armed pastoralists in Laikipia have forcefully driven their livestock in the hundreds of thousands into private farms, ranches and conservancies in search of pasture.
But in between, wildlife has been killed, property torched, destroyed and looted, hundreds of cattle stolen, and with farmers and landowners incurring huge losses. And now there are questions about the real cause of this latest wave of violence.
NTV spent some time in Laikipia and tried to find out what ails Laikipia. The full story airs tomorrow at 9 p.m.
We have less than 5% of our farm. The rest is completely overrun by the armed illegal grazers with thousands and thousands of head of sheep.
Wanaenda wanafunja, piga marisasi.
Hii ku exchange fire ni kila wakati tu. Hapa tunatumia jungle loss.
This county is also home to one of the largest reserves of wildlife, and these too have been affected by the invasion.
Huyo alipigwa risasi 3. Risasi ya kwanza nikaa ni hii.
A day after President Uhuru Kenyatta declared the drought crisis a national disaster, pastoralists in drought-stricken areas like Baringo continue to lose their livestock, dealing a blow to their means of sustenance.
The Kenya Red Cross has already issued an alert over the drought in Baringo, among 22 other affected counties, as humanitarian efforts continue to prevent loss of human life in the affected areas. Bridget Ngana reports from Baringo.
It's past 4 p.m. in the evening when we arrive at this homestead in Kui village in Barwesa, Baringo County. This is just one of the homes in this expansive county that is reeling from 7 months of dry weather conditions being experienced in the greater northern Kenya region. Here we find village herdsmen trying to assist a cow that has collapsed from hunger.
Baga sai njia na site. Watu wale moja ile kuna mahindi, hakuna kitu. Watoto ya shule, hakuna kitu ya kukula kwa shule.
And for the residents of Kui, a new day is a sad assurance that one among their flock shall succumb to the pangs of hunger due to lack of pasture.
Ninaona sasa kama nimepata hasara sana. Na hata hiyo iko tusiwezi kujua kama atanibakia ngapi. Kwa sababu kiangazi bado inaendelea.
This Chesomiron Dam being one of the most frequented water sources by residents. This dam was constructed after the successful humanitarian appeal by the Kenya Red Cross back in 2011.
Rains failed last year. The long rains failed, the short rains failed. So we've had 2 seasons of back-to-back rain failures, and that's why the dam has not been full.
This is one of the dams that was constructed after the Kenyans for Kenyans initiative back in 2011. And this dam has been a source of livelihood for the pastoralists living here in Baringo. But now the water levels are diminishing fast, a depiction that the drought is still here for a long time to come. Even the area leadership admits that sustainable solutions should be sought as climate change continues to have an effect on weather patterns.
We've never experienced this kind of situation since 1959. Let's come up with concrete, long-term solutions to address the issues of drought, the way Israelis have done, the way Egyptians have done, and other countries in the Middle East.
On its part, the government has continued to distribute relief food to the drought-stricken areas as the Red Cross gives out a cash stipend of 3,000 shillings per household every month in Baringo.
We're in a free market society. You know, commodities will find where the money is as long as there is money. What is the problem here is purchasing power, is what these people are lacking.
And since the drought is now a national disaster, Kenya now looks to find assistance from her neighbors and the world to prevent further losses as a result of the dry spell. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Baringo.
Tonight marks 69 days since doctors began the strike. It is also less than 48 hours to the deadline of February 13th, this coming Monday, when a Kotu KNCHR team is supposed to deliver a report to the Labour Relations Court on whether or not KMPDU and the government have reached an agreement.
However, with Monday fast approaching, there seems to be no end in sight for this crisis that is crippling the public health care sector. NTV has been following the happenings at the mediation table, and tonight we highlight some of the contentious issues in the talks.
Let's start with the background, right? There was a meeting with the president. That was on 31st December 2016, 4th to 4th January 2017. Senior KMPDU officials met with President Kenyatta twice in Mombasa, and it seemed that there just might have been a deal then, which for one reason or the other never materialized. The first meeting on the 31st of December 2016 served to break the ice on the doctors' grievances, and the two teams agreed to have a second meeting with the government officials, key to making the negotiations move forward.
A second meeting was convened on the 4th of January where KMPDU were joined by the CS Treasury SRC Chair Sara Sarem, Health CS Cleopa Mailu and his PS Dr. Muraguri. Also present at the meeting were Public Service Commission Chair Margaret Kobia and Alice Otwala, who was the secretary of the meeting. There was no breakthrough doctors' strike of the contentious CBA. The doctors have always maintained that they will use nothing but the CBA as their basis for discussions with the government.
So they started discussing that CBA clause by clause mid this week as doctors found themselves on opposing sides of the government over Article 3 that deals with doctors' rights. For instance, let's talk about job grading. Doctors want to have a unique authority govern their work and welfare, modeled on the Teachers Service Commission. They want to be graded differently from the other civil servants through a health service authority.
Well, doctors say the SRC has graded them under job group C3, yet in their official documentation, doctors are graded under job group D and E. When it comes to remuneration, since the beginning, the article on money has been contentious. The government saying that it was the reason they could not agree with the CBA back in 2013 and why it could not be admissible in court. As per the judge, Wasilwa order, the SRC and the Treasury were expected to participate in the talks. However, the Treasury and the SRC chose to be represented by junior officers, whilst the doctors put their A-team at the table. It is believed that the lacking of the CS or chair SRC could slow things down, as they are key figures in the decision-making about finances.
The two parties have not been able to agree on the percentage increase to be awarded to doctors. Research and postgraduate studies funding, according to the CBA 2013, was agreed that the government would fund postgraduate studies for doctors, whether locally or abroad. The government has since been lacking in implementing that program. The doctors now say that they want a fund to be set up at the universities in the country to facilitate career growth of doctors who are required to upgrade their skills by conducting higher studies.
Well, doctors strike CBA effective date. The negotiating parties have also failed to agree on the implementation date of the CBA under discussion. According to the KMPDU, 1st July 2013, which means that once effected, the government will be compelled to backdate their dues 4 years. The government believes a 1st July 2017 would be appropriate to effect the CBA. Doctors strike a suspicion in ongoing talks. There have been allegations from both sides on the lack of sincerity to have the current crisis come to a conclusion. One of the rules of engagement is for each party to sign on the minutes of the day on whatever will have been passed after discussions. This is whether or not they have agreed on parts of the CBA.
For the last few days, sources say that it is only one side of the panel that has been ensuring that they have their signatures. And as it is now, we understand the government side withdrew their offer today, which makes for interesting times ahead of next week.
Into politics now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has taken a swipe at opposition leaders, asking them to stop politicizing projects initiated by his government.
President Kenyatta, who was speaking in Nakuru County during a voter mobilization campaign, criticized the opposition for attempting to divide Kenyans.
His deputy, William Ruto, who toured Kajiado County during a voter mobilization drive as well, challenged the opposition to fast-track its efforts and name a flag bearer who will face them in the race to State House. Kevin Mutai has more.
President Uhuru Kenyatta took his voter mobilization drive to Nakuru County, where he persuaded the electorate to support his re-election bid by listing themselves as voters.
Hii kipindi cha lala salama, jameni, kuuliza vijana nyinyi mujiandikishe jameni. Mukiandikishe muwe wapigaji kura. Msiwe watu ambao watatazama dunia inaenda namna gani. Muwe watu ambao watashape dunia ya kesho. Na uwezi kushape dunia ya kesho kama huna kura jameni.
His deputy William Ruto was in Kajiado County, keen on marshalling as many eligible residents as possible to get registered as voters.
Hata kama unasema unapenda Uhuru Kenyatta, hata kama unasema unapenda kiongozi fulani, hiyo mapenzi yako yote ni ya bure kama hauna kura.
As the scramble for numbers between Jubilee and opposition shapes up, the president and his deputy defended their track record, lashing out at the opposition for questioning their performance. President Kenyatta insisted that the 38 billion shillings Itare Dam project that caused a political storm in the South and Central Rift region will continue, assuring residents of Rongai that their thirst for the precious commodity will be quenched.
Wale watu ambao hawawezi kuona mbali, ndio tukianza project kama hiyo wanaenda kusema hii project itakausha mto kule milimani, watu wa Kericho hawatakuwa na maji. Jameni, miaka hii yote kutoka Mungu aumbe dunia, si hiyo maji yote inatiririka Lake Victoria inaenda mpaka Egypt?
Kama mambo ya watu 4 inawaangaisha 4 years mpaka wametengenezea komiti, Mambo hii ya watu 40 million ya Kenya watatengeneza commission ama watatengeneza nini ndio?
Ruto also warned the opposition against what he termed as efforts to derail the work of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. He said the opposition should stop threatening the staff with the hope of tilting the scales in their favor. Kevin Mutai, NTV.
Kilomita ingine karibu 45.
Opposition leaders, meanwhile, today slammed President Uhuru Kenyatta, claiming he has led a failed regime.
Speaking in Vihiga during a burial ceremony, the NASA leaders claimed that the Jubilee government had led the country through the worst times economically and socially, with corruption characterizing the 4 years the Jubilee administration has been in power.
NEC reporting.
The last journey for Josephine Kageha Khaniri, the mother to Senator George Khaniri in Vihiga County. Opposition leaders were here to pay their last respects. Politics surrounding the new NASA coalition and the voter registration exercise that comes to an end on Tuesday dominated. The opposition leaders tore into the Ruto government, accusing the Jubilee administration of incompetence and misuse of public resources. Besides corruption, they claim the government has overseen a huge increase in Kenya's international debt.
Kenya inaweza kuwa kama Greece, hiyo taifa ambayo itashindwa kulipa madeni, kwa sababu hawa jamaa wana appetite kubwa ya kukopa mapesa na kuharakisha maproject, and this has become a serious problem.
Tuweze kutoa serikali ambayo imedhulumu wa Kenya, imehujumu uchumi, imeleta ufisadi ambayo haina kifani.
The National Super Alliance expressing confidence it will carry the day in the August elections.
Hii timu ambayo tunaunda haiwezi kushindwa. Mimi ningependa kuambia Ruto na Uhuru wajitayarishe.
Ndugu zangu wanasiasa, muangalie horizon vile inaenda. Uhuru na Ruto wamegundua hesabu yao haingii. Wamejaribu juu chini, wamesema wana namba, lakini tunajua wameona hesabu haingii.
Mkisikizana na mnaungana utapata ile mnatafuta, lakini msiposikizana msilaumu mtu. Na mimi nawaombea msikizane.
Kweli nikienda peke yangu mimi Musalia Mudavadi sitafaulu. Raila akienda peke yake hatafaulu. Kalonzo akienda peke yake hatafaulu. Weta akienda peke yake hatafaulu. Gideon Moi akienda peke yake hatafaulu. Lakini tukiwa kitu kimoja, saa 4 ya asubuhi serikali ya Jubilee itakuwa imara.
Mungependa chamani yetu Gideon Moi akuja ajiunge na hii viongozi hapa. Mungependa akuja ajiunge na hapa. Atasikia rudieni tena akuje. Mimi sikusema, nyinyi mumesema.
The opposition maintains that it is Kenya's best bet for a developed country. NEC, NTV.
Politicians may now be forced to rethink their voter registration mobilization methods as the IEBC insists it will not extend the registration period that closes early next week.
Speaking at a parliamentary leadership retreat in Mombasa, IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati said there are strict timelines set that need to be adhered to if elections are to be held in August. Chebukati said the closure of registration will also affect the continuous registration provided for in the law.
This, he says, is to allow for voter register scrutiny. NTV's Kennedy Mureithi reports from Mombasa.
It has been weeks of voter mobilization from politicians in an effort to whip the numbers in their favor. NASA and Jubilee have been crisscrossing the country, calling on their supporters to register as voters in readiness for the August elections. The numbers, though, have not been so inviting. This is according to IEBC data that has shown that the target is still below their expectations. Despite the poor numbers, IEBC says it will not rethink their Valentine's Day registration closure.
We are not extending the period of registration from 14th. Whether Huduma centers, whether any of these places, except for prisoners and the diaspora.
At a parliamentary leadership retreat in Mombasa, IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati said it would jeopardize their elections plan greatly if they tinkered with the timelines. Chebukati says they are already lagging behind in implementing some crucial stages in election preparedness.
A lot of Kenyans are talking about the register we have. A lot of political parties are raising issues. The Commission needs sufficient time to look at the register, clean it up, and we present it to the Kenyan people, to yourselves, for purpose of verification.
MPs have reacted differently.
We are asking IEBC to make a special consideration for the pastoralists who have been affected by this ravaging drought.
At the moment, our people are trying to save their lives and their livelihood, their livestock, their livelihood. Registering as a voter is the least thing on their mind.
It is only logical, and I'm sure those who have participated in other audits know that for one to audit and audit effectively, you close the registration and then subject the registers for audit, and then you allow those who have been approved to go in and vote by August 8th.
In an advert in the dailies today, the Commission has published the timelines. Among the matters included is the submission of party membership list before 19th March, which would in essence lock out politicians hoping to move to other parties. Politics is a game of numbers, and by Valentine's Day, if politicians will not have won the love of Kenyans, then their geese might be as well as cooked. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV, Mombasa County.
All right, to recap, you've got 2 days left to register for voting.
If you haven't left, get on it.
Wait, what?
If you haven't yet, get on it.
You said if you haven't left.
Oh, my bad.
So Monday and Tuesday, the last 2 days for you to register as a voter. After that, that's it. You can't vote in this election.
Right. So
don't say we didn't tell you.
Let's take a short break here on NTV Weekend Edition. We'll be right back. Here's what's coming up.
Starehe Girls students win 10 million shillings award in Global Green Campaign competition. Coming up after the break.
Edition with Victoria Rubadiri and Larry Madowo.
Welcome back. Now, police officers and anti-narcotics unit detectives are holding 2 South African nationals and 2 Seychelles citizens in an ongoing swoop on drug traffickers and peddlers in the country. The suspects, identified as South Africans Nolt Barend David, 43, and Favlewitz Mark Anthony, 47, and natives of Seychelles Nelson Vivian George Dominique and Neddy Conrad Rodney Mikok, were found in a hotel in Nyali, Mombasa on Friday night. Mombasa police say the group was part of local cartels operating in the country.
The Seychelles nationals have been on the radar of the National Drugs Enforcement Agency of Seychelles, which had released an intelligence report on the 1st of February this year on suspicion of engaging in illegal activities. Kenyan police sources revealed that the 2 South African nationals have been on their radar and are in the country illegally. They're linked to the Akasha family, and one of the vehicles they had documents that belong to the Akasha family. They are said to be in money laundering and drug trafficking.
Well, Seychelles National Drug Enforcement Authority impounded 35 kilos of heroin in 2015 that was believed to be part of a shipment that was brought into that country by Neddy Mikok with an unnamed accomplice. According to a report published by the Drugs Enforcement Agency of Seychelles, Mikok left the country in March that year to the UAE and has been in and out of Seychelles since then. Kenyan authorities say they will continue to hold the 4 as investigations continue.
Interior and National Government Coordination Cabinet Secretary Joseph Olen Kaiseri has taken a swipe at the courts for reversing a government directive to close the Dadaab refugee camp.
Well, maintaining that the repatriation of Somali refugees will still happen, the CS said the camp will only be shut when the last refugee leaves.
This has placed the judiciary and the executive at loggerheads, with parallels drawn on recent arguments between the US President Donald Trump and the courts.
Well, is this a Kenyan Trump moment? And Oxycolia explores.
On Thursday, the High Court blocked the closure of the Dadaab camp and the subsequent repatriation of Somali refugees, annulling last year's government directive.
Directive issued by the third respondent, namely Major General Retired Joseph Kaisari, on the intended repatriation of refugees and asylum seekers of Somali origin on 10th May 2016 is arbitrary, discriminatory, and indignified, and hence a violation of Article 27 and 28 of the Constitution.
Few days later, the Interior CS is on a warpath, supposedly quashing the decision of the High Court.
Iyo amri ya koti haikuwa inahusika, is null and void.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
There are some intriguing parallels between what is happening in the US and Kenya. Trump's immigration order and the directive by the Kenyatta administration on the Dadaab refugee complex. In both instances, the judiciary has stepped in to stop executive action or orders, and in both instances, the executive has been none too pleased.
My strong hope is that he will be more vehement publicly. He certainly expressed to me that he is disheartened by the demoralizing and abhorrent comments made by President Trump about the judiciary.
In innovation.
The executive order at the end of Trump's first week in office had sparked protests and confusion as people were stopped at US borders. Keeping at bay terrorists were the reason given by the new US government. An almost similar picture was witnessed in Kenya after the government made clear its intentions to close doors to the Dadaab camp last year. According to the state, Dadaab was being used as a terrorist breeding ground and needed to be shut. What followed was a confusing moment for those who have called Dadaab home for decades. The government has remained steadfast, even as criticism increased both locally and internationally.
Serikali haikuwa na nia ya kufunga Dadaab camp na kwa nguvu. Tulikuwa tumeweka kisheria ambayo inalingana na sheria ya United Nations protocols, na tulikuwa tumepanga na UN, United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Kati ya miezi 6 tutakuwa na serikali Somalia ambayo tunashukuru juzi wamechagua president.
The court suggested that the order did not advance national security. This court appears to have angered members of the executive. If Nkaiseri's tone is anything to go by.
Hatukuwa tukifunga hiyo kambi ya Dadaab kwa nguvu. Tulikuwa tunafuata sheria.
The same day, the Kenyan court ruled against the closure of the refugee camp. A U.S. federal appeals court rejected Trump's bid to reinstate his ban on citizens from 7 mainly Muslim countries. In its 3-0 unanimous ruling on Thursday, the U.S. appeals court said the government had not proved the terror threat justified reviving the ban. Trump responded with an angry tweet saying national security was at risk and there would be a legal challenge.
We would like to state that the government will be appealing this judgment as soon as possible.
The rulings on Dadaab and Trump's orders might be perceived a win by human rights agitators against systems seen to be persecuting certain groups of people. Enoxikolia, NTV.
And for the first time in a span of 20 years of continuous fighting, the Amhara Koke from Ethiopia and their Kenyan counterparts, the Gabra and Dasnach pastoralist communities, have declared peaceful coexistence.
This comes as the World Bank, through the government of Kenya, sponsored the Regional Pastoral Resilience Cross-Border Project, striving to build peace among these communities.
Due to diminishing grazing resources in many parts of Marsabit County resulting from the ravaging drought, the need to access the limited available resources by these pastoralist communities has sparked conflicts among them. In Buluk, many lives have been lost during the recent past because of unending fights. Buluk is one of the strategic grazing reserves in Marsabit County, which straddles the Kenya-Ethiopia border. The area is crucial to pastoralist communities, especially during drought seasons. For the very first time, the pastoral communities along the Kenya-Ethiopia border converged here in a bid to exchange views on how to plant their precious seed, peace.
Kwa sababu gani tunaendelea na wizi wa mifugo? Kwa sababu gani tunaendelea kuuana?
And they began their special gathering with prayers.
Tumeibana. Wale wengine wamefanya, Dasani wamewahi kufanya, Amarkoko wamewahi kufanya. Sasa tunataka tusahau hiyo kitu kabisa. Tufanye ile ambaye itatusaidia tukielekea mbele.
They don't even ask for any passport crossing over to Kenya or to Ethiopia once there is enough water and pasture for their livestock. Their interest is pasture and their interest is the health of their livestock. And without this livestock, there's no livelihood.
The Cross-Border Peace Project is an initiative of the World Bank through the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries.
Our aim now today is to bring them together, create peace, so that they can share the natural resources that are based along the border.
The Gabra Dasnach from Kenya and their Ethiopian counterparts Ahmar Koke have agreed that they will own the peace project for a better future.
Askari kama sisi tutapata nafuu kiasi kwa sababu ile community policing kwa upande wetu utakuwa rahisi sana.
Kiwa umejitolea leo uje hapa, weka kwa roho yako ya kwamba wewe ni mtu ambaye nia yako ni kuweka amani.
After long hours of successful discussions, a 15-member committee drawn from 3 communities was formed.
These are the committee which will deal with the issues of conflict resolution, issues of natural resource sharing and management, and the project will liaise with the project in southern Ethiopia.
And as a sign of commitment, they all shared a meal before returning home. Safi Godana, NTV in Buluk, Marsabit.
What a fabulous hat that Safi is wearing.
Oh, she's sporting, what did you call it?
Arid couture.
Arid couture or haute couture.
Hot. Not odd in French, it's just haute couture.
All right, go ahead, Larry.
All right, moving right along. 10 million shillings, that's what students from Starehe Girls Center received after winning the Zayed Future Energy Prize in the Global High Schools competition.
Well, Starehe Girls' winning proposal beat more than 15,000 high schools from around the world. The students received their award in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates.
NTV education reporter Sharon Baranga has been speaking with them.
This winning team from geography and physics class have made the Starehe community proud. Their proposal, the Cool Green Campaign, trampled proposals from more than 15,000 schools around the world to emerge the top in the Zayed Future Energy Prize in the global high schools.
Only 15 managed to become the finalists, which is 3 per region.
From the African continent, 3 schools were among the 15 finalists. Apart from Starehe Girls, St. Mary's Sosio in Bungoma County was among the 3, and another school from Ghana. The award ceremony took place in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. The Cool Green Campaign from Starehe recommends the use of renewable sources of energy instead of relying on electricity from the national grid.
The main aim of our project was to reduce our electricity costs.
The students participating in developing the Cool Green Campaign were 11, and they were assisted by 2 teachers.
So our electricity bills are so high, and there is a need for us to reduce this cost, and also bearing in mind that global warming has become a major challenge. So we were looking for ways to reduce carbon emissions into the atmosphere.
The team then settled on the solar system after assessing their environment.
We are located in upland Karura forest, so we would not rely so much on wind because of the forest, there's a land of wind distractors.
We did not use the dam to produce the electricity. This is because it mainly depends on surface runoff and there's no inlet or outlet, therefore the dam was inefficient.
The Zayed Award is worth 10 million shillings.
When we were announced as the winners, we could not believe it. We had not expected it because all signs were pointing to the school in Ghana.
According to the director of the school, part of the money will be used to install a solar system, which will help reduce the school's electricity bills and also sponsor more needy and bright students.
Usually our bill ranges between 300, 350 and 400. So are beyond our ability to pay. This project is going to cut our electricity bill by 70%.
The 25 kilowatt embedded solar carport system is supposed to power the school during the day, and then we'll switch back to the main grid in the night. So we realize that most of the energy we use, it is used during the day.
But the journey to winning their first international award wasn't easy.
The main challenge that we encountered was time.
It is a project that took us almost 8 months.
Currently, the school uses electricity to pump water from the dam to irrigate the farm. Effie, in a nutshell, you're telling us that at Starehe Girls Center, it's all about finding solutions to problems.
Exactly.
So maybe you can tell us where you're going to install the solar panel.
So we are planning to install our 25 kilowatt embedded solar carport system on the rooftop of our school bus parking. As you can see, we already have the basic roof itself. So all we need to do is to reinforce it such that it is able to support the weight of all the solar panels. We chose this site specifically because, as you can see, it is open. There are no tree obstructions that are going to interfere with the sun rays reaching the rooftop. And then we also don't have any form of buildings that are around it except for the wall bounding the school from the outside environment.
How soon is this project going to kick off?
Probably by February 15th, we'll begin we have already sat down and put the actual plan. So what we're waiting for is the arrival of the solar panels, which is approximately 2 weeks away.
Thank you so much, Effie. Sharon Baranga, NTV at Starehe Girls Center in Kiambu County.
What powerful girls, pun intended.
I see what you did there. But you know, it's really encouraging to see girls get into STEM because you don't see a lot of women getting into that field, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But to see them create some groundbreaking innovations is amazing.
And they're incredibly smart. Like, listening to them speaking, I was like, wow.
No wonder they won.
I don't even think I'm smart enough to understand half the things they're saying, which is true.
But kudos.
Well done.
Absolutely.
So the war against contraband has gone a notch higher, with the Kenya Counterfeit Agency destroying fake goods valued at more than 7 million shillings in Eldoret.
Here's Gabriel Kudaka with the details.
Electronics, water gadgets, cosmetics, tea leaves, textbooks and soap formed the bulk of the fake goods that were burnt at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital's incinerator. During the destruction of the counterfeits, the need for increased sensitization and awareness on contrabands was emphasized, especially ahead of the planting season.
we have seen fake fertilizers in this market, and we want to just deal with them, especially in this time when farmers are planting. They are about to start planting various types of crops, maize seeds. We are going to do some awareness creation for the farmers. But more importantly, we have agreed with KEBS and the police and others at the port of Mombasa to make sure that we work very hard to prevent, because prevention is better than cure.
When the farmers plant, either it's not germinating, or when the plants come out, they are weak, they are diseased, so the farmer can't get any yield out of it. And the danger of this is that the farmer loses faith in investing into certified seed, and that affects our food security in the long run.
More than 600 suspects dealing with contrabands were arrested in the last 1 year. Conviction rates, however, tell a different story given the glacial pace of meting out justice in Kenya.
We have arrested quite a number of people, and the cases are already in court. And then one of the other things is that because some of these cases are also take very long in court, we have also come up with an alternative dispute resolution mechanism. When a counterfeiter pleads guilty, then the agency is able to find that particular person, and then the goods are destroyed. As
if to exemplify the gravity of the matter at hand, 3 principal secretaries were on hand to witness the destruction of the counterfeit goods. Gabriel Kudaka, NTV, Eldoret.
So an important question just came in here from Sam Zinjoro for you, Vicky. Did you see it?
No, I did not.
Was that part of your dress that Larry is wearing as a tie?
Interesting. You know, we never discussed this.
But mine is orange. Yours is kind of like...
This is like a burnt orange, if you want to get technical.
It's like brownish.
Okay, you're colorblind.
Anyway, we're going to take another break on NTV Weekend Edition. But this is what's coming up.
Hata wanaume wa kusumbua niko right ya kusimama, hata ndio samwambia toke. Kwa maana saa hii mimi mwenyewe najisimamia.
Former sex workers take the entrepreneurship path as they seek to reform. That's coming up after the break.
The government invested 29.5 billion shillings in the water sector in the last financial year. That is just 10% of the sector's annual financial needs.
For this reason, the country is falling behind in providing water and sanitation services to every Kenyan, with slightly over 50% of the population having access to clean water.
On any given day, Nairobi needs a minimum of 700,000 litres of water daily to serve all residents. The available water resources, however, can only supply 500,000 litres per day, leaving most city neighbourhoods with access to water only once a week.
Water access at the moment, as recent reports released, clearly indicate that about 46% of Kenyans do not have access to clean water. Access meaning having to get water within a radius of about 5 kilometers. This means about 19 million Kenyans actually do not have water.
Kenya had set out to deliver water to at least 80% of the population by the year 2015 as per the Millennium Development Goals, but that target has been missed. The problem is several-fold. First is the lack of financing. The water sector faces an average annual funding gap of 60 billion shillings. This can perhaps be blamed on the government's order of priorities, which puts water financing further down the list, while transport and infrastructure take the top spot.
We have to look outside. We have to think outside the box. That's why we're engaging more in resource mobilization externally. That's why we're coming up with more innovative financing methods.
One of the clear examples which we've discussed very clearly with the Netherlands is the case of looking at Kenya's Kenya Innovative Finance Facility for Water, which we refer to as KIFWA, so that we look at how we can fund the water sector using, for example, pension schemes.
The second challenge is wood-based fuel. The charcoal industry is estimated to be worth 32 billion shillings, but in order to produce this charcoal, trees are cut down every day. In fact, the Kenya Forest Service reports that the economy loses at least 60 billion shillings annually due to deforestation. These trees are what protect water towers, and without them, taps run dry.
Yesterday, my team and I were working on the water tower called Endau. There is water that is supposed to be coming from the hill, and the Mwananchi is supposed to be getting access to this water. Unfortunately, they don't get as much as the water that they should be getting.
The third and perhaps the greatest challenge, climate change. The current drought has brought the impact of climate change right to the doorstep of every Kenyan, a very key water source, dropped to below 50%. There is a climate change law in place that focuses on massive reforestation and a shift to renewable energy, but this will take years to yield fruits. In the meantime, there's need for public education on protection of water sources.
That must be dealt with at the level of showing the Mwananchi. For protecting the environment, this is what you'll be paid. 1 cubic meter of water costs you so much.
The quick fix solution for replenishing Ndakaine Dam is for the rains to come, but climate scientists have warned that the March to June rainfall may not come. The Ministry of Water and Irrigation, however, says that there is no need to panic because it is prepared for the worst case scenario. A total of 7 billion shillings has been set aside to ensure that there is still some water available should the rains fail. The long-term solutions, the ministry says, is to complete the Northern Collector Tunnel, which will not only fully recharge Ndakaine, but also bring in an extra 140 million litres of water into Nairobi daily. Also, the ministry intends to build an additional 40 dams across the country in the next 5 years, which will triple Kenya's water storage capacity. This will be done through the Kenya Water Harvesting and Storage Authority that has been created under the Water Act of 2016.
For the first time in Kenya, we're going to have one institution mandated to focus on water harvesting and storage. It will come up with policies, it will come up with strategies.
In 2013, the government discovered a water aquifer in Lotikipi in Turkana County, which has a capacity to serve the entire country for 70 years. That water turned out to be saline and therefore unfit for consumption. The Water Ministry says that Kenya may be able to benefit from the aquifer after all, because there are tests being carried out to establish the possibility of desalinating the water, or if there is fresh water beneath the salty water. The results, however, will be out in a few months. Zainab Wandati, NTV.
Now, Hafswa Diko is not your ordinary Muslim woman. She is a certified Muslim religious teacher, better known as Ustada.
A lack of a confidence while she was growing up led her to pursue psychology, and now she dedicates her life to empowering women and teenagers.
Well, Gladys Gashanja caught up with the Hafswa at her Islamic Center in Athi River and brings us her story of resilience and passion in this week's Women and Power.
Athi River in Machakos County hosts a unique haven for women and teenagers, Ulumuddin Islamic Center.
Sasa leo inshallah tutafanya revision ya suratul Fatiha.
Hafswa Diko is the brains and heart behind this center. We find her doing what she loves best, imparting vital religious knowledge through madrasa. Here, the women are taught how to read the Quran and how to abide by its teachings. Hafswa's inclination to empowering women started right after she was certified as an ustada 9 years ago.
Nilipomaliza mahad nikawa nafundisha jamia na wamama wanakuja wananiuliza maswali. Hayo maswali nitawajibu kulingana na vile Uislamu umesema, nitawafundisha. Lakini by the end of the day wanarudi na the same issue. Bado nikawa na feeling kuna gap somewhere. So my dream of doing psychology haikuenda hivyo. I went back to school nikasoma and ndo nikaweza kushikanisha psychology and dawa. Dawa is now preaching.
A former school principal, having left the profession 4 years ago, Hafswa is also privy to the challenges teenagers face. As such, she also invests time in giving them counsel at the center.
When I do the workshops for girls and boys, our theme is to empower them in matters concerning deen and dunya. They have a place to express their feelings and thoughts. Rather than kuna mambo ambayo yanatokea, Uislamu umetuambia ni haramu. Na wamesoma kwamba ni haramu, lakini to them zile challenges za teenagehood anaona kwamba uharamu wake iko wapi, yako sawa. Nilitaka madrasa yangu isionekane ni madrasa tu, but a home away from home. Mtoto akija anajua kwamba nina mama na rafiki wa kuzungumza naye, si mwalimu tu.
Hafswa works in conjunction with 3 other teachers to run the Islamic Center. In addition to madrasa and counseling services, the center also offers computer classes, tailoring and taekwondo for all and sundry.
Taekwondo si Waislamu peke yake. Even the tailoring and computer si Waislamu peke yake. Kwa sababu ni pia lazima urudishe mkono to the community. I also work with Christians. Counseling pia it's open for Christians. They come for sessions. It might be it marriage or individual sessions. So kuna Christians ambao wanakuja for the sessions.
Sasa wamama kuelewa kufanya vitu kama kompyuta. Leo kazi katokezea kama IBC. Wakasema wanataka watu wa kompyuta. Kwa nini hao mama wasiende? Leo tukapata tenda ya shule. Kwa nini hao mama wasishone hizi nguo zikawasaidia? Wale wakaenda kusaidia na wakajipatia ada yao kidogo ya kuwasaidia. So this project ni kama imeleta enlightenment to women in Athi River and the environment.
The center is a lifeline for many. However, it has flourished in the midst of many challenges. This mother of 3, wife and a Muslim woman, living out her dream has been no mean feat.
The authority, wakati ule ilikuwa, as you understand, madrasa zikifuatiliwa, they did it. Si kwamba sijasumbuliwa sana, but wakijaribu kufanya uchunguzi wao, they look by the end of the day, it's not what we think. It's something better.
Ni kazi kubwa sana amefanya, ambao wanawake wengine pia ni vigumu kwa kufanya. Maybe wazee wao hawataki ama mashekh wanafuatilia zile tamaduni za zamani za kwamba wanawake hawezi toka nje, wanawake hawezi pata elimu. Lakini sasa amefanya tofauti, inanipa moyo sana kumsupport.
With a center to run, women and teenagers to empower and a home to keep, Hafswa is a believer that you can have it all if you just dare believe.
Wamama ningewaambia ni Waislamu ni Wakristo, tutoke tujifundishe, we need to be empowered. Kwa sababu this is 21st century. Katika malezi vile tulivyolelewa sisi, sivyo vile tunavyotarajia watoto wetu tutawalea. Ndio tutataka kucorrect ile mistake wazazi wetu walifanya. Na tutacorrect if tutaweza kujua ni makosa gani. Kwa hivyo watu watoke wasome, wajifundishe, waweze si kubaki tu ndani ya nyumba. Kazi umepata, any opportunity umepata chance, grab it, do it. Don't just sit there and wait for someone. There is no perfect moment. It is now.
For Women in Power, my name is Gladys Gashanja.
All right, let's take a short break, but before we get there, we have something else.
Yes, we want to leave with the moment of the day for the moment.
Moment of the day in association with Nairobi Aviation College.
Are they sunglasses?
It's glasses.
It's time for the sports. My name is Edmond Nyabola. It was a disappointing start for Kenyan teams as the continental competitions kicked off. Tusker FC conceded an away goal in the 1-1 draw against AS Port Louis of Mauritius in the CAF Champions League at Kasarani, a day after Ulinzi Stars lost 1-0 to Libya's Al Hilal Benghazi in the Confederation Cup first round. Seth Olale with that report.
Kenya's representatives in the Continental Club football must turn tables in the second leg in order to progress to the next round of their respective competitions. Hosts Tusker, representing the country in the CAF Champions League, had taken a first half lead through Shafiq Batambuze's goal at the half-hour mark. However, the lead was short-lived after Ephraim Guiyan equalized for the visitors shortly after the break. Tusker will travel to Mauritius next week for the return leg. Coach George Nsimbe's men must win away or at least secure more than a 2-all draw or more in order to progress to the next round of the competition.
The passing was not all that good when we reached the final third, because when you see we almost get so many chances and the boys didn't perform to the expectation.
We are happy here for the result. We came not to beat, frankly, to beat Tusker in Kenya, But for us, it's our objective to score a goal, at least to get a draw.
Last Friday, Kenya representatives in the CAF Confederations Cup, Ulinzi Stars, lost 1-0 to Libya's Al Hilal Benghazi, with Ahmed Abad scoring the solitary goal for the Libyans in the second half. Seth Olale, NTV.
Cooperative Bank men and Equity Bank Hawks are the happier teams after Game 3. The two teams set themselves up nicely for Game 4 of the Kenya Basketball Federation League Final Series after winning their respective fixtures today. This as Umoja beat Zitek University to win the men's Division 1 title. Warodhe Kiru was at the Nyayo Gymnasium.
The Nyayo Indoor Gymnasium was a venue of exhilarating basketball action as the Kenya Basketball Federation League Finals playoffs landed in the capital city. In the men's Premier League final, Bank salvaged their title hopes with an emphatic 79-57 win over KPA in Game 3. The Bankers won all quarters 19-17, 16-12, 21-12 and 23-16 to move to 1-2 in the series, with Game 4 set for Sunday. In the Women's Premier League final, advantage Equity Bank following the 54-52 win in Game 3. The Bankers trailed in the first three quarters, losing 10-13, 8-11 and 11-15 before winning the fourth quarter 25-13. Equity, who now lead the series 2-1, scraped to a 56-51 win in Game 2 after losing Game 1 43-62. Earlier in the day, Umoja staged an amazing comeback to win the men's Division 1 title with a hard-fought 51-48 win over Zitek University in the decisive Game 5. Umoja had won Game 4 in overtime to tie the series 2-all coming into the match, and they rode their luck to win the game's final play. Nairobi-based Equity Bank and Cooperative Bank have ensured that they've made use of their home court advantage to secure wins in Game 3. Equity now leads the Women's Premier League final 2-1, while Cooperative Bank have given themselves a lifeline with a win, making sure that they now trail 2-1. Game 4 will be played on Sunday. Warodhe Kiru, NTV, at the Nyayo Indoor Gymnasium.
There was a huge upset in the Kenya Cup today as Mwamba RFC beat title contenders Kenya Harlequins 15-7 at the Railways Club to hand the visitors just their second loss of the season. KCB crushed Strathmore 50-15 at the Den, the Bankers scoring 8 tries to record the maximum 5 points and ensure their lead at the top of the table is intact. Brian Omondi, Francis Mwita, Shaban Ahmed, Ian Indimuli, Felix Ojo, Rocky Aguko all scored tries as man of the match Davis Chenge grabbed a brace. In other results, Impala Saracens were made to sweat by a resolute Western Bulls before winning 17-15 in that match played in Kakamega. Kabras crushed Black Blood 42-14. Kuru brushed aside Nondi's 2012 at Jamhuri Park, and Homeboys shut out Mean Machine 38-0. To some athletics, Kenyans Bethwell Birgen and Nicholas Kipkoech won their respective races as Ethiopian Genzebe Dibaba was the highlight of the Copernicus Cup in Torun, Poland. The meet was the penultimate stop for the 5-leg IAAF World Indoor Tour that concludes in Birmingham on Friday. The meet kicked off with an entertaining battle in the men's 1500 meters race that featured Kenyan sailors Kiplagat, Vincent Kibet, Bethel Birgen and Paul Marcin Lewandowski. Kiplagat, the winner in the last leg, started brightly, but Birgen closed strongly, winning 3 minutes 37.63 seconds, while Lewandowski held off Kiplagat's charge to finish second with Vincent Kibet fourth.
Birgen and Kiplagat are now tied with 20 points in the World Indoor Tour standings. In the men's 800 meters race, Kenyan Nicholas Kipkoech upset home favorite Adam Kushot. Kushot led from the start, but Kipkoech overtook him on the outside over the final 20 meters to win in 1 minute 46.34 seconds and bag his first win of the tour. Kushot was 0.10 seconds behind, with American Eric Sowensky third. Ethiopian Genzebe Dibaba ran the 6th fastest 1500 meters performance in history, while on she was expected to break her world record. However, erratic pacing over the first 600 meters foiled her effort, forcing her to settle for 3 minutes 58.80 seconds world leading time. The IAAF World Indoor Tour is a series of track and field indoor events designed to create an IAAF Diamond League style circuit for indoor track and field events so as to raise the profile of indoor athletics. The 5th and final leg of the tour will be held in Birmingham in the United Kingdom.
5 primary schools in the country stand to benefit from professional rugby coaches as the Bubesi Pride Rugby Development Program kicked off. Meanwhile, host Makini School and Brookhouse led day 1 of the medal standings of the Kenya Swimming Federation Level 1 Championships. Details in a local sports roundup.
The 6th edition of the Bubesi Pride Rugby Development Program was officially launched at the Kenya Harlequins grounds. The G4S-sponsored rugby program will see a group of coaches from different countries across the world take primary school-going pupils through different rugby skills. G4S Bubesi Pride Rugby is a sports initiative which aims at delivering mass participation rugby and education programs in schools and communities across Africa. In Kenya, the initiative targets 5 schools this year across the 10 days program.
There's a lot that can be done either from the top, in between, or within the grassroots levels, because every time we keep on asking when will the next Andrew Amondes or Collins Injeras or Brian Yukulis come from, but it'll obviously come from the communities that are around us.
I've not seen anybody do this. I know Bubesi Pride is going down to Namibia, so I've not experienced it firsthand. So I'm excited to see what Africa can do, and I want to get involved in Africa. I want to do stuff like this myself in the future. That's why I got involved with Bubesi Pride, and hopefully we can do some good stuff.
In swimming, host Makini School topped in 4 events in day 1 of the KSF Level 1 Championship. Brookhouse topped the girls' medal standings after leading in 4 of the ladies' events. In a peak of the events, Laila Mugambi won the boys' relays medley, with Deepa Bana emerging victorious in the girls' event. Hillcrest's Megan Teljad was victorious in the girls over 16 years freestyle, with David Ngare clinching the boys' title ahead of Ruben Omwaha and Clinton Kipruto. Brian Otwal, NTV Sport.
And I have to change this because Manchester United are set to drop back to position 6 in the Premier League. That is, of course, because Liverpool is leading Tottenham Hotspur. Earlier, they beat Watford 2-0 at the Old Trafford. The goals? The Red Devils scored a goal in each half thanks to Juan Mata and Anthony Martial for their 16th consecutive match unbeaten. They are now 6th on 48 points as it stands, of course, with Liverpool leading Tottenham Hotspur.
Mkhitaryan, Ibrahimovic, no flag now, Anthony Martial, 2-0, he's back in the team, and that might just endear him to Jose Mourinho.
At the Emirates Stadium, Alexis Sanchez scored twice to lift Arsenal to a first win in the last 3 matches. The first was a controversial first-half goal and the second a late penalty. Sanchez leads the scorers list with 17 goals as the Gunners sit third on 50 points.
Perez is central. Lucas Perez, was that handball? Yes, the flag on the... Not this time. Game, set and match to Arsenal. Back to winning ways with a double from Alexis Sanchez.
Southampton moved up to 11th in the table with a 4-0 hammering of Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. January signing Manolo Gabbiadini scored twice as Shane Long added another to Jason Diana's own goal. Other results saw Everton draw 0-0 with Middlesbrough, West Ham drew 2-2 with West Brom, and Stoke City edged Crystal Palace 1-0.
Was in cruise control after that.
You can see how sparse the crowd is there at the Stadium of Light. Fans clearly have given up the ghost as the Black Cats then go 3.
And like I said, Liverpool leading Tottenham Hotspur 2-0 in that match, about 10 minutes left now. Late goals from Arturo Vidal and Ian Robben and Bayern Munich had fought 2-0 victory at FC Ingolstadt 04 in the German Bundesliga. The victory left Bayern to 7 points, or rather lifted Bayern to 7 points, clear of second-placed RB Leipzig, who suffered a shock 3-0 defeat at Hamburg. This was the first time Robert Lewandowski failed to score in a league match against Ingolstadt, with keeper Manuel Neuer keeping his 100th Bundesliga clean sheet for the Bavarians. In other results, Darmstadt beat Borussia Dortmund 2-1. Bayer Leverkusen were 3-0 winners against Eintracht Frankfurt, as Borussia Mönchengladbach won 1-0 at Werder Bremen.
Game over. As Robben jumps for joy. Delight on the face of the Dutchman.
And to some motorsport, Hyundai's Thierry Neuville stretched his Rally of Sweden advantage to over 40 seconds during the shortened Saturday afternoon loop, which saw Chris Meek hit a snowbank. The longest test of the loop was cancelled on safety grounds, leaving just 2 stages in the route. Toyota's Jari-Matti Latvala, who came under pressure from the charging Otto Tanak in the morning, responded by topping Section 13 just 1.1 seconds quicker than the Estonian. Ogier continues to hold forth. And that's the sports tonight. Let's have a look at tomorrow's weather.
The weather forecast is brought to you by Mortein Doom Power Guard.
Mortein Doom Power Guard kills 100% mosquitoes.
Back to Larry and Vicky, that's the sports, and all of it from the sports desk.
Thank you, Edmund.
All right, many thanks. And that's also all of it from the news desk.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching. I'm Victoria Rubadiri, and thank you to David Agondoa, our sign language interpreter.
And I'm Larry Joe. Good night. We'll see you tomorrow.
My name is Edmond Nyabola. See you again tomorrow night. Bye.
This is NTV.
Introducing Orient Marine Cargo, the comprehensive coverage for your cargo to final destination. Log in at marine.korient.co.ke.
The only question remains, what's the next big thing you want?
Cheza Cash now. SMS WIN to 29030 or visit www.chezacash.com for a chance to win millions.
Gazi Nyororo